everybody. So I'm doing a little bit of stress regulation right now. I decided that I was going to do a small self-care routine here at the airport at like 2 in the morning. Surprisingly really busy right now. Like an update on what's going on here in Guatemala. So I'm currently in Guatemala City. If you guys have followed my journey for the last few years, then you know that I had to hitchhike one of the last times out of the country because there was a blockade and the entire city of Guatemala, the entire city capital of Guatemala was occupied by people who were protesting a new vehicular insurance. Well, this month there's a 30-day shutdown because a criminal gang rioted in a nearby airport and they have occupied the prison. So now Guatemala is literally on a shutdown, probably because some people were able to escape or something. I'm not sure, I'm not following exactly, but it just so happens that happened within the last 20 hours. So here I am now at the airport, no problems, no blockades, getting out just as like there's drama going on in the country. So kind of grateful that there's no hiccups now with this trip to Ecuador. But I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a 2 a.m. update while I do this self-care routine. So I just I don't know why, but I happen to have anti-itch powder in my bag, and I'm super grateful because like all of a sudden my feet are itching. I think I've just been wearing my socks for too long. I brought one pair of socks. I have multiple pairs of underwear, but I have one pair of jeans and one t-shirt, or one rash guard long sleeve and one comfortable cotton long sleeve, both white, and blue jeans with this wool jacket. So I'm keeping it super minimalistic and simple right now. Any clothes that I need I will get in Ecuador, but it's like a heavy heart that I'm leaving San Marcos, and maybe you guys will get to hear about that in the future when I come back. But for now, I'm keeping it super simple. I left all my clothes here in Guatemala. I plan on coming back in the next 3 weeks. Instead of living in Chile the way I was planning on with a hotel, I'm gonna go ahead and come back to Guatemala exactly after the 3 summits of the tallest peaks in South America within 3 weeks. So the goal is going to be get the 2 summits done in Ecuador within a week of being in Ecuador, then fly to Argentina and fly to Santiago, Chile, where I will attempt Aconcagua in Mendoza, Argentina. So with all of that, plus the ticket back to Guatemala City from Santiago, it's going to be about 3 weeks. So 1 week to summit 1 week to summit Cotopaxi and Chimborazo, both because it takes about a day or two to hike them both. So as soon as I fly into Quito from Panama, which is the connecting flight from Guatemala City, then I will immediately get my stuff packed away in the dorm, maybe take a shower, and then just like head straight to the center of the town where I think I'm going to be able, just like in Lima, where I'm going to be able to find a guide company or agency that's going to give me a really good last minute price on a maybe group expedition, maybe a private expedition. So that's the goal for Quito. Just get into Quito and then find a guide company and try not to spend more than $500 for both expeditions, $600 max. Because then the goal is going to be to go to Aconcagua in Argentina, and immediately after the 2 5,000 meter summits in Cotopaxi and Chimborazo, immediately do Aconcagua, which takes a minimum of like 12 to 13 days with my experience. After all of that, literally not even gonna think about it. It's to the hostel, to the agencies, to the trekking agencies, and then straight back to Santiago from Mendoza, where I'll fly from Mendoza or from Santiago to Guatemala City, and then come back to San Marcos. So that is the goal, and then here in San Marcos, I'll get a job and work for a couple of months before a necessary doctor's appointment in April. So there's my update. Now you guys know we are in the the first part of a 3-part push towards summiting Mount Everest. So the first part is the South American expeditions, and that is going to take us to 6,971 meters in Aconcagua in Argentina. Once we complete the 6,971 meters of Aconcagua, we'll go back to Guatemala, rest for a bit, and then after the doctor's appointment in Colorado, go ahead and take a quick road trip up, like I told you guys, to Colorado so that I can summit Mount Elbert, because I failed to do so during the last month of the season last year. So that's the goal, is to finish the 3 tallest peaks in South America, finish that block, and then head back to the United States, get a little bit of training in and some doctor's appointments, and then head to Nepal, where I'll attempt 2 7,000 meter summits. Those 2 7,000 meters will be the second part of the 3-part push towards summiting Mount Everest, because Elite Exped, the group that I'm going with, if God is willing, is they have a requirement of having 1 8,000 meter and 2 7,000 meter summits. So after I do Aconcagua, I'll be acclimatized this year to do 2 7,000 meter summits. And then when I attempt those 2 7,000 meter summits, hopefully by then I've already spoken to sponsors and like loan sharks or whatever, and I'm able to pull the money together somehow, get sponsors interested in what I'm doing. So that's a lot of why I'm sharing it with you guys on social media, why I'm posting it on YouTube, why a couple of years ago I started talking about it in public, my desire to want to summit Mount Everest, and the training that it took to do that. So this is a world peace expedition, and using this project as a platform for humanitarian aid projects in the future and nonprofit work in the future is a huge part of like my career right now. So pretty much I'm a career expeditioner, just training to just get that one summit out of the way. So it's 3 pushes for 1 summit. That's this expedition to South America, doing 5,000, 6,000 meter summits, which is essentially almost 7,000 meter summits, and then taking that to Nepal and doing the second part of that push, which is going to be the 2 7,000 meter summits. And then the third push, which would be the first 8,000 meter, which would cost about $30,000 to summit. And then the second summit, which would be Mount Everest, the world's tallest mountain, $45,000 to summit with the world's best team. And that's with 1 8,000 meter prerequisite and 2 7,000 meter prerequisites. So those are the prerequisites. I plan on summiting Mount Everest and then being done with mountaineering. I may or may not attempt all 7 summits of the world once I've gotten Mount Everest and Aconcagua done, because that'll be 2 out of the seven summits, if I'm not mistaken. Because Mount Everest would be a 7th summit, right? It's like the tallest mountain on Earth, so why would it not make the list of the 7 tallest mountains in the 7 continents? So, but then that's it. I'll be finished with the mountaineering, and I kind of just want to get that done this year, so I'm making the push this year to at least get the prerequisites done, the 2 7,000 meter summits. So just going to give you guys a warning now, if you are following along with me on this journey this far into my live reels and into the explanations, then I want to make you guys aware of the fact that I may not summit Mount Everest this year. If I can't get the money, then I get the prerequisites done, which is 2 7,000. So no matter what we're doing this year, we're going to Nepal, we're going to do the 2 7,000 meter summits. We're also going to do the Long Tong Valley Trek, and if it looks like we're not going to have the funding to do Mount Everest or Manaslu, we're going to go ahead and do the Mount Everest base camp. So that's kind of the goal here. This is EarthThreads International's 14 Peaks for World Peace, and I am summiting the world's tallest mountain for world peace. Brought to you live from Guatemala City. So I'm still in the process of getting my dual citizenship fully finalized with the Guatemalan government, and because of that, I will be most likely summiting Aconcagua as a U.S. national, but that after this summit, I'll have the opportunity to finish the dual citizenship process with the Guatemalan government and attempt the first 2 7,000 meter summits as a Guatemalan citizen. And then the plan is to go to Rishikesh after the two 7,000 meter summits while we wait to see if sponsors are interested in summiting for the Manaslu expedition, which would be the first 8,000 meter summit. But we go to Rishikesh and study the primary series of Ashtanga because, this is between you and me, I am working on developing a national Guatemalan yoga team to compete for a world championship once in my lifetime, but then to leave that legacy behind so that for my school at the yoga house in Shella, other students can study the primary series, or in the training facility that I hope to open one day, can train the primary series and join this Guatemalan national team and compete as a yoga international champion. So that's just another one of those things that I'm kind of working on right now. So it would require going to Rishikesh and really mastering the primary series, which I'm working on. But then let's say I do not summit Mount Everest successfully, or I do summit Mount Everest successfully. No matter what, at the end of this year's trip to Nepal, after all of our trekking expeditions, getting our prerequisites done, and possibly getting that summit done of Mount Everest, I'll head straight to Thailand, and then from Thailand study Muay Thai for a few months, and then the goal would be, after resting in Thailand and studying Muay Thai for 3 months, going to Brazil and then doing another.
Nuevamente, pasajeros del vuelo 183 de Copa Airlines con destino a la ciudad de Panamá y conexiones, les informamos que hemos finalizado nuestro proceso de abordaje. Por favor, acercarse lo antes posible, puerta número 16.
The goal would be to do 3 months of training in Thailand and then another 3 months of training in Brazil before coming back to Guatemala. And then, of course, just visiting family, relaxing, not doing anything. And then after I've finished 6 months of mixed martial arts training and have completed those expeditions, the goal will be after the summit of the world's tallest mountain will be to go to the site of the world's one of the world's number one humanitarian aid crises at the moment, which is Palestine. So I would go and volunteer in Palestine, and then I have family that lives in Tel Aviv now currently, so I would try to establish a humanitarian corridor between Palestine and Israel by being a Red Cross volunteer, living in Israel but with family, but then traveling across the border into Palestine for the duration of 1 to 3 months. So that's the goal. My career top as a humanitarian aid worker will be going with the Red Cross to volunteer in Palestine and to volunteer with the Red Crescent, even if it was just for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, whatever it takes to cross the border and occupy the state that is being occupied right now, so that the people of Palestine can have a voice and can be represented by an international team of people who are dedicated to establishing a Palestinian state for the Palestinian people and the integrity of their culture and their historical connection to the land. So, EarthThreads International, ladies and gentlemen. I've just given you the breakdown of what 14 Peaks for World Peace is doing, the high altitude training expeditions, as well as the ultimate goal, which is to volunteer in Palestine and to speak out against the genocide and to support organizations like the Red Crescent, like the Red Cross, who are out there right now doing work to establish a Palestinian state and to restore the population that has been so heavily devastated by Israeli occupation, not just in the last 2 years, almost 3, we're on our 3rd year now, but really for the last 4 or 5 decades. So in the time that it took you guys to brush all of my new hair, that has been the breakdown of what EarthThreads International is doing right now, flying from Guatemala City to Quito. I At a certain point, I have to remind myself that EarthThreads International is not an alias, that it is an organization, that I am not working under an alias, that this is an organization that I'm working on, an international organization, in order to speak on the world's #1 issues and promote equality and the awareness of inclusivity and the quality of life for all people. So in the time that it took me to brush my hair, I have just explained to you guys exactly what my international organization's project is working on next. And that's not a lot. That's not a little bit of stuff, you guys. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be the summit of the world's tallest mountain, including all of the prerequisites. And I just kind of hone in and meditate and focus on just the goal and the step that comes next. So the step that comes next right now is I made it to the airport. I didn't get stuck in San Marcos, where I was convinced that there was no reason for me to go to Mount Everest and spend all that money on just one person. I do have a plan after the summit to use my organization in the next 5 years after, in my 10-year startup, to do nonprofit work and to use the fact that this Everest expedition is going to gain publicity, and with that publicity I can funnel more funds into charity as well as organize more projects. So there's a lot hanging on this summit, but then between you and me, guys, I'm constantly thinking about ways of getting out of the project and thinking of ways that I can break it to you guys that I'm quitting, that I'm not going to summit Mount Everest, and that I'm not doing these expeditions, that I'm going to go ahead and choose a life, of having children and living in the house. And as much as I'd want to do that and tell you guys that, I keep reminding myself of why I'm doing this. This is a world peace project, and I'm doing this because I believe in it, not just because I believe in myself, which I do, I believe in myself, but because I believe that world peace is possible. And I think that it's important that we stand for what we believe in, and that even if, for example, what you believe in is a childhood dream of becoming a gardener or becoming a circus performer, that you go for those childhood dreams and that you don't let anything stop you. That's really the message of my project. My project is founded on childhood dreams, which is nonprofit work, environmental sustainability, summiting the world's tallest mountain, and world peace. I do believe that world peace is possible in our lifetime, that we can free the people who are oppressed by occupying forces, like in Tibet, like in Palestine, like in Sudan. So it's really important that we stand together as an international population for world peace. And that is what I'm advocating. And I told myself at the beginning of the nonprofit startup that I would work on an organization that would build a platform that would allow me to speak on a political and on a social level, that would reach high enough to be able to make an actual change in this world, not just as an advocate or as a politician or even as a private enterprise, but just as a regular girl who decided that she was going to make a change in the world and that she was going to be that change in the world. And a lot of you guys, if you guys have been following me, you know that one of my mottos is be the change you wish to see, and that's the dream for the 2020s. So when we walk the talk, when we do the things step by step, little by little, we will see that change happen. No matter how big the problem is, little by little, step by step, you can be the solution wherever you are in the world to make a difference now. Not in the future, not for someone else's problem, but right now you can be a part of the solution, and we just have to choose to be that. So I'm choosing to be that, and I'm walking the talk. I'm summiting Mount Everest for world peace, and I'm going to Ecuador right now to summit Aconcagua and Cotopaxi Chimborazo for world peace, especially after the U.S. conflict with Venezuela. I think that it's just really important right now that instead of focusing on the biggest issue right now, which is Palestine,
Piedad Beatriz Alvarado, Bernardo Alfonso Solórzano, por favor acercarse inmediatamente, puerta número 16, de lo contrario estarían perdiendo su vuelo. Nuevamente, Piedad Beatriz Alvarado, Bernardo Alfonso Solórzano, por favor
think it's important right now. The lavender is for moisturizing the scalp. I'm gonna go ahead and put my hair in a braid to protect it, but I think that right now the most important thing is going ahead and honing in on what's going on in South America right now, which is the destabilization of Venezuela and the occupation of the U.S. government in Venezuela, acting as a holding of office or whatever. I think it's just really important right now that going to South America, being so close to Venezuela, that instead of focusing on world peace in Palestine or in Sudan or in Tibet, right now we're just going to focus on freedom and liberation of the South American people, and I want to use that as an opportunity to advocate for environmental sustainability and how important it is that we reduce our air pollution, carbon emissions, and water pollution, which is going to include the support of the government by it providing infrastructure and projects that are possible to be done by nonprofits and non-government organizations as well, to support the local communities who are unfortunately victimized by oligarchical federal organized governments. So I want to advocate for lowering carbon pollution and lowering water pollution and providing basic essential needs for a quality of life for all people. Lots of people are questioning right now immigration. Well, one way that you can solve immigration is by helping the sustainability and the stability and development of the countries of those areas in which people are fleeing or leaving. So if the situation is political, then providing asylum for those people So whatever side you're coming from, whether you believe in Israel's right to support itself or to fight against Hamas, and you believe that's enough of an excuse to justify genocide, whether you believe that what's happening in Venezuela right now is justified, or whether you are coming from a standpoint of national conservatism or more liberal, open-minded, borderless unity, then one way or another we need to see that these solutions are necessary, regardless of whether or not you're coming from the left side or the right side, that these things are things that are just basic and essential. And I want to challenge you guys, if you're on this journey with me, to think like a humanitarian for a second and try to become as impartially neutral as you can be. Try to look at the world from a neutral standpoint. Look at your enemy, look at your best friend, and try to look at them as one and the same, not just with each other, but with yourself as well. In the Bhagavad Gita, it states that he is a great yogi who, by comparison to himself, can see the true equality in all beings, both in their happiness and distress. So that means being able to see the good and the bad, free Palestine and free Israel, these both polarities, bringing them together and trying to understand from a neutral standpoint the needs of humanity in and of itself. And that requires a lot of compassion, but it also requires a lot of inner understanding of the self as well. And I think that it's important to understand that we do live in a world where there is an extreme polarity. You have on one wall a huge Star of David supporting Israel, and right on the other wall you're going to have stickers that are saying Free Palestine. And when you are walking in a world that has that kind of extreme dual polarity, it can become very easily to be wanting to be pulled in one direction or the other, to try to please one group or the other. But as a humanitarian, you're trained and you're taught to be impartial to the needs of all people and all who are affected and made vulnerable by human or natural disaster conflicts and crises. So that's where I'm at right now, trying to advocate for world peace while still remaining impartially neutral, so that I can be able to meet the needs of those that come across my path. Because, for example, being pro being pro-Palestinian and being anti-genocide does not mean being anti-Semitic. It does not mean being anti-Jewish or anti-Israel, even for that matter. What it means is that the people of the earth, the world population, is not going to stand for mass genocide by any government. And I think that we should be proud to say that. We should be happy to be able to say as a species that we have come to the point now with the technology that we have, where as a world population we can all come to the consensus, left and right, that genocide is wrong, and that we will, one, be able to define it, and two, we will no longer let it happen. Because if one person is at risk of genocide, like we saw in World War II, then anybody is at risk of being victimized by a government that decides to ethnically cleanse the region of a certain culture. So as I enter into South America, I'm going to bring you guys with me on this journey, a first-hand experience of what it's like to travel into South America. We're going to look into social infrastructures, environmental sustainability. We're going to be looking at the whole picture, and we're going to be seeing how South America is contributing to the world's development. And in what ways can we support the people? Did you know that the majority of indigenous populations in Venezuela have been eradicated? Did you know that most South American indigenous communities that once existed have now been extinct? But the remnants of those cultures still exist. So being Latin American means that on one level or another, you have experienced genocide. As a Guatemalan, the history is very fresh. 200,000 Guatemalan indigenous people were murdered during the war from 1955 to 1996. That's only in Guatemala. So that memory is still with us. What I've learned about memories is that memories teach us lessons, not so that we ourselves can learn, so that we can go and teach others. So if you grew up in a household where your parents suffered under a regime like Pinochet in Chile, for instance, you yourself might be growing up feeling not only rebellious towards, let's say, our parents' ways, but rebellious towards the history that led us to have to experience that, not only in our societies, but in our homes as well. And so a lot of times after that, we choose to want to help other people. We choose to want to teach our children what we learned, and to step away from trauma and pain and fear. So I believe I believe that the memory that we carry as a generation of Latin America, of discourse in Latin America, can help us now be able to provide development and necessities for people who are suffering right now, not only in Palestine but around the world. Viva Latinoamérica y vive la raza. So, like my ancestors before me, I'm learning how to climb tall peaks, because the mountains and nature will empower us in the future and guide us as we go into a new age, a world where we believe in supporting one another, in ourselves, and making our dreams come true, manifesting prosperity and abundance around the world in a sustainable fashion, so that one day when we look back on how we left the world, we can say that we truly made a difference and came out of an age of darkness and into an age of enlightenment and awakening. So EarthThreads International's 14 Peaks for World Peace is leaving Guatemala City tonight and flying to Panama, where we're going to have a layover for 2 or 3 hours before we arrive from 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. in Ecuador. And the first thing we do when we drop down is going to be drop off our bag at our dorm and head straight into the city's capital to look for a guide company that can take me into Chotapax and Chimborazo's national parks within this week. And then once we summit Ecuador's peaks, we're heading straight to Ecuador. To Argentina. So that's a little part of the message that I wanted to share with you guys, and I hope that you guys can follow me more along as we go into South America. And the new country this time is Ecuador, and we are re-attempting Aconcagua, Chotapax, and Chimborazo after our sponsors fell through last year. So if you would like to support or donate, or would like to sponsor my expeditions, please message me directly, or I can give you my social media or my social media information in the link tree. Will give you all of my donation pages as well. So right now, this is EarthThreads International's 3,000, 4,000 meter summit, going to its next level, 5 to 6,000 meters. So I'm a little bit nervous. I am a little bit nervous about climbing such a tall mountain, but I will be with guides, and they're not glacial. It's pretty straightforward. Apparently I can do Aconcagua as a solo trekker, so I'm going to consider it. I'm a little nervous. It's gonna be a new environment for me for sure, but I'm excited for the challenge, and I'm also ready to be able to learn more from the guides and the local companies that are going to be teaching me how to trek at high altitude in alpine, but also in snow. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is a huge, huge, huge personal step in my expeditioning journey. Going from 3,000 to 4,000 meters here in Guatemala to 5,000, 6,000 meters in South America. So this has pretty much been what I've been training for the last 2 years, just to do these 2 mountains alone. And we're going to be doing it with guides, so I'm not too worried. I'm not too worried, because the guide that's going to be with you wherever you go, if you're an expeditioner or mountaineer, is going to be your best friend, and they're going to make sure that you get where you need to be in a safe and also in an educated fashion. They will provide for you instructions, as well as a kind word and a shoulder to cry on if you need it. So I'm very, very excited to meet my guides for these expeditions in South America, and to learn from them and prepare myself just a little bit more for a summit of Mount Everest and other 7,000 and 8,000 meter peaks above 5,000 meters. Like I said, this is actually not going to be my first time above 5,000 meters. This is going to be my first time above 6,000 meters. If I'm significantly above 5,000 meters and above 6,000 meters. So it's high, and just the idea of being that high terrifies me. I can feel it. It's like, just now I'm actually looking at it like almost by like cubic feet, like I'm like climbing a tall building. It wasn't like this before, because it felt like my feet were still on the ground and that I wasn't like too high up in the air. But now, really thinking about climbing up a mountain and being that high, and knowing that if I wanted to come down, it would take me at least 2 or 3 days to hike down, that's, to me, is a bit daunting, and to say the least. I'm pretty nervous. But like I'm saying, with the guide, I have full confidence in my safety, and I also have full confidence in my ability to learn. And I think that because of that ability to learn, I am a good candidate to summit Mount Everest this year at 29 years old for sponsors, because I'm going to be a successful summit of Aconcagua this time, because I actually have the money. And once I've summited Aconcagua, I'm going to start really pushing for sponsors. And there's nothing going to stop me from summiting Mount Everest except not being able to get sponsors this year. So if I can find just a few sponsors who are willing to support and fund this journey, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm walking the talk, I'm training, and I believe in myself. I believe in myself exhaustingly, to the point where I wish I didn't believe in myself. I wish I could just give up and procrastinate like I do everything else. But I put my number one belief in this. Not a religion, not a faith, not a political ideology, just one thing, and that's world peace. I genuinely believe that world peace is attainable. I think that every single human being can come to the consensus that we want world peace and that we will make it happen, and that we can also have political leaders that support the desires of the people as well as the needs of the people. These are my genuine beliefs. So I'm summiting the world's tallest mountain for the world's number one goal. I don't think there's really any goal higher than this one, which is world peace. Can you imagine a world where we come together and can actually read on the headlines that world peace has been attainable? Can someone who, if you're watching this far, can you Google if world peace has ever been attainable? If there has ever been a decade or a day or a year in human history where we were free of war and conflict, and could truly say on a political platform that we had attained world peace and environmental sustainability. Guys, this is the new age. Why not just speak it into existence? Just talk about it, make it happen. Well, this is what it looks like. This is the slow journey. I'm not an engineer, not a biotech whiz, but I do believe that world peace is possible. So I can walk. I'm pretty good at walking, so I'm gonna walk up the world's tallest mountain, and the whole time I'm doing it for world peace. Honey spilled on my back. I bought a jar of honey just before I left Guatemala, Panajachel, because something told me I was gonna want honey. And some of it spilled on the bag. So EarthThreads International, if you'd like to hear a little bit about what it is a non-profit dedicated to advocating environmental sustainability, quality of life for all, and world peace. Every expedition I do is in conjunction with a donation or a charity project, much like the holiday fundraisers. So we haven't broken it to him yet, but this year we're going to make a donation to a couple of organizations, because I'm falling behind on the donations, but not as badly as I think I could be. So I'm not gonna go ahead and list the guy right now. Actually, I'm kind of excited to do it, so I'm going to do it anyways. There is a nonprofit in Colombia that provides meals for about 80 kids, and I would like to donate money to his organization or go to Colombia and volunteer, one or the other. So that's going to be the expedition, that's going to be the nonprofit charity for this expedition. And everything that I make, I donate back into the community, either through time, labor, or actual funds and donations. Now that we're going to be working with a large sum of money for the next expeditions, I'm thinking that the most important thing is going to be funding the expeditions, and then providing volunteer hours or small donations to organizations over a period of time. This year, I also have the opportunity to fund children's events in San Marcos and donate money to the children's events. However, a lot of times when you're donating to government organizations, you cannot, even non-government organizations, you cannot guarantee that all of the money is going to charity. A lot of it does get pocketed, and it doesn't go directly to where they're saying it's going to go. So one of my number one things is to focus on transparency. So that is what this is, and that's pretty much everything for me right now. I've told you guys about every update that I can think of right now, and until I'm ready to really start speaking about the message, you guys are just getting small parts here and there, which I'm grateful to be able to share with you guys. And yeah, gonna go ahead and not think about it too much and just try to let it come as it comes, because this is something I'll never stop talking about, and it will just continue exponentiating. So little by little, using this platform to be able to speak on these issues, and also to be able to provide solutions, either through funding or through project development and volunteer coordination. There are a couple of things that I'm not going to mention because I just don't think that right now is the right time to mention them, but it is in regards to my career as a humanitarian in the past and how I believe that there needs to be reform also in non-government, non-profit organizations as well. So I would like EarthThreads International to be the epitome of an example, and of course, as anything in life, there is always room for human error, so pray for me and my consistency on this journey, that I can bring you guys with me and share that journey with you guys on social media, on YouTube. Check out the new docuseries on Volcán Atitlan, on the last summit I did here in Guatemala, and keep an eye out for more little videos on my journeys and for the next big expedition summit video. Peace, love, and namaste.